Ladies and gentlemen, now today I wanted to deliver on a very heavily requested video, man, which always makes me a little bit nervous about putting out, because with great power, ladies and gentlemen, does come great responsibility. However, when it comes to Alliance War, man, nobody's playing games anymore, and you want the best information, you want to make grown men cry, ladies and gentlemen. That is the goal of Alliance War. You want to make the opposing team cry while trying to hold back the tears for yourself and survive another Alliance War season. So that is the goal at the moment, and we need to chuck this information out here, man. All the champion recommendations, the boss suggestions, and we have some very fun stuff to talk about today. So let's get right into it. But I think one thing to kind of keep in mind at the moment is that despite seeing some crazy fights in the top tier of Alliance War, there are some very interesting node combinations. To the best of my knowledge, there is no character or node combination that is completely unbeatable at the moment. Some of them are incredibly difficult and require some very niche counters, but there's nothing, even in the top tier of Alliance War, that is completely unbeatable to the best of my knowledge at the moment. Although sometimes some stuff can seem, a bit of a pain in the ass and will, beat you down both physically and emotionally. But anyway, let's talk about some of the Alliance War boss suggestions. Now, I think some of these are certainly better than others when it comes to various tiers of the game. Domino, at least when it comes to the top tier, is fairly easy to fight, but I would say kind of middle to lower tier, she can be really good if people don't know how to do those when she's dashing back at you, kind of like quickly dash back and then dash back counter again. Domino can be very difficult, and also having the evade built into the mix as well, plus the fun and interactive damage from her awakened ability, can make her a very formidable boss in lower tiers. And I've seen in lower tiers Dominoes get a huge amount of kills, but toward the top, man, she's fairly easy to deal with. But I think low tier, mid tier, Domino can work incredibly well. Very similar story with Korg. Korg is a character you need to learn how to fight really well, and that special one can mess a man up, ladies and gentlemen. And also that very fun and interactive damage if you can't do those light counters well. So Korg can work tremendously well as a final Alliance War boss, kind of, throughout all tiers in the game, really, because one little slip-up, mate, and you are dead, and that is what you want. You want as many slip-ups as possible for the Alliance War boss to be as punishing as possible, and Korg is definitely a character that can be very frustrating for a lot of people to deal with. But a Mega Red is the counter there, and we've accidentally just deleted Korg off the list. 10 out of 10 there. Let's go full screen again. And next up, we have Medusa, who still a lot of people suck at fighting or cannot bring nullified champions for. Medusa's auto block and also high damage output makes her a very formidable foe, but there are more and more counters to Medusa. Any champion that can nullify or kind of true strike to get through the auto block does serve as a very good counter. Then we got the champion, the unstoppable, and also regeneration. I've seen in kind of like the mid-lower tiers, and even in some certain top tier Alliance Wars, the champion cause a lot of problems and kind of like snipe people with his unstoppable because haven't been paying too much of attention there. So yeah, the champion, Symbiote Supreme, is probably one of the best counters to this guy, if not the best counter as an Alliance War boss. I haven't seen any full kills on magic yet, but the champion seems to be an increasingly popular Alliance War boss, and also, having that additional benefit of the final node getting the big regeneration there. He seems to be increasingly more popular, but again, a good Symbiote Supreme man is going to sort this man out in seconds. But then again, Symbiote Supreme man isn't the most common, but neither is the champion at the moment. And next up, I think toward kind of the lower tiers, mid tiers, a character that I've seen performing tremendously well as a final Alliance War boss is actually Corvus Glaive, and this is for the specific reason that he is a very stacked stun immune character, and Corvus Glaive, a lot of people aren't very good at fighting him when he's got stun immunity on, because the special one is a little bit tricky to bait, so you're kind of left out baiting the heavy attacks and intercepting, and Corvus Glaive can crit through block, so this is causing all sorts of problems with people getting wrecked with block damage, man. I felt this on like stun immune Corvus nodes as well, so yeah, he can be a bit of a bitch as an Alliance War boss if people aren't very good at intercepting in that matchup. But a good Magic player, man, can sort of Corvus Glaive out as a final Alliance War boss, so that's kind of worth noting as well. Then we got Dormammu, kind of similar story with a magic player being able to sort out Dormammu, or a very skilled blade player as well. But Dormammu, with that degeneration, man, it scales up quite nicely with some Alliance War bosses. So if people, you know, quite aren't on the ball with certain characters, that can really throw them off guard. So Dormammu, he can get, you know, a few kills as an Alliance War boss, but he's not really a top tier suggestion. I would say kind of he's, again, a kind of mid to lower tier suggestion there. And then we have Iron Man Infinity War, who I've seen work quite well for people in the lower and middle tiers, maybe some top tier alliances as well, because you know, sometimes people fail to one-shot, but, you know, if you've got a ramped-up Corvus, man, Iron Man Infinity War, he isn't that bad as a boss, but, again, for the people who don't have maybe that much of a stacked Corvus Glaive, he can work wonders in the lower to mid-tier Alliance War brackets there. And then we've also got MODOK, kind of similar story with his super fun auto-block mechanic there. So, yeah, MODOK is a bit of an annoying one, can do very, very well in the low to mid-tiers, very similar story with Spider-Man Classic with the evade. Still, just a very annoying champion that a lot of people can't seem to deal with, the evade mechanic or the special one a lot of times. Again, with both MODOK and Spider-Man Classic, a lot of counters do exist to both of these champions, but still, man, I've seen them get a lot of kills when it comes to low and mid-tier Alliance Wars. So those are some of the Alliance War boss suggestions I have. And then we have, like, proper asshole tier, which is, you know, some of the champions I consider as the worst to fight, generally speaking, most likely to catch kind of people off guard here and there and get a kill. Douchebag tier, champions that are pretty annoying and kind of going to kind of wane down on the damage a little bit, might slip some people up as well, but maybe not as generally effective as the proper asshole tier throughout the map. And then we've got the ass pain tier, which is again, slightly below that one. Champions that maybe have, you know, a thing or two that might throw people off and occasionally get a bit of a kill or some chip damage, or just prove a bit annoying to deal with on certain nodes and matchups. And then we have the annoying tier. So these are champions that have pretty simple mechanics, generally speaking. Like, there's only like one or two things to worry about. They're quite easy to play about for the most part, but can still do like that one little thing that might, you know, leave somebody unprepared or slip them up for a certain matchup. So yeah, that's kind of how I've broken down the remaining champions. But generally speaking, you know, anything above the ass pain tier can serve as quite a good defender, but the proper asshole tier, the ones most likely to get you kills, and again, it kind of does depend. There are so many variables when it comes to getting a kill, depending on like node placement, you know, who is fighting your lane, how good they are at fighting certain champions, whether they've done their homework, what champions they've brought as well. So, you know, you could never quite guarantee a kill, but you've got characters like Nightcrawler, who can be very, very annoying to deal with on kind of short nodes where you can't stun, or you've got high stun resistance there. Domino can be very good on nodes where the fight is significantly prolonged, if there's like armor or kind of a bit of regeneration involved in the mix there. Again, you don't want to worry about stun immunity with Domino, because she's quite easy to play around once people know how to. But anything that just makes her, you know, a little bit more fun, a little bit more interactive, and kind of prolongs that fight. So the chance to get caught out by like an evade, or the amount of damage taken is increased, is always useful there. Killmonger, anything with power gain, ideally cornered nodes, are some of the absolute best ones for Killmonger, for making him really, really annoying. Korg, like anything that prolongs the fight, really, just armor regeneration, just anything that significantly enhances the duration that you're going to be fighting Korg. Medusa, again, very similar story, anything that increases the duration, so that your opponent has a chance to, you know, either take a bit too much block damage or slip up from something like the parry as well, is going to be very, very useful. Dormammu, anything power gain related, can serve quite nicely, because it kind of forces the opponent to dash back in certain scenarios if they're not bringing a magic involved. But yeah, anything kind of prolonging the fight as well is generally the rule for a lot of the top tier champions. Then we got Mephisto as well, who still has some very fun incinerate damage, can chip certain champions down a little bit there. Obviously, Blade serves as a pretty much great counter to the majority of what is it, mystic characters, but Mephisto also having his Aura of Incineration and Power Gain. Sometimes there are scenarios where Mephisto can be a bit of a pain, and I think generally speaking, Mephisto does quite shine, because his best counter by far is Void, which you can't bring to, like, a Poison or Bleed node, so I've seen Mephistos do quite well on Poison and Bleed nodes there, so just a bit of a placement one there. Iron Man Infinity War works really well on that Flare node, generally speaking, unless you bring a Corvus against him. Corvus is pretty much the answer to like 90% of Alliance War stuff. But on Flare nodes, I've seen Iron Man Infinity War be very, very annoying. Bane, he can be a little bit tricky as well. Anything that kind of, what is it, forces you to play quite aggressively generally is a good placement for Iron Man Infinity War. And then we have Darkhawk, who is one of the newer characters. Again, I haven't seen too much of Darkhawk in Alliance War at the moment, but the fact that whenever he knocks down, he gets kind of the auto block for 8 seconds, man, is going to be so incredibly annoying. And it looks like from the content creator videos that can trigger parry. And at the moment, Darkhawk is also crashing the game on like 90% of devices as well. So, you know, you've got that for being a proper asshole. So he's got that going for him, but also his invisibility. I think anything where stun immunity comes into the mix is going to be probably one of the most valuable placements and most annoying ones for Darkhawk. But yeah, I'm interested to see just how annoying Darkhawk is going to be going forward. But a bit of masochism, a bit of stun immunity, I'm sure it's going to cause quite a few problems there. MODOK and Spider-Man Classic, anywhere where you can't stun is going to be a really great time for both of those champions to make some grown men cry. And then in the douchebag tier, like, we've just got Iceman for kind of the chip damage there, Sabretooth, anything that kind of boost up the regeneration, quite a bit can be quite useful there. Emma Frost with her, what is it, control reversal. She's quite, like, easy to fight once you're used to Emma Frost, but she can really mess certain people up in scenarios. But because you're forcing the opponent to dash back, I think champion, you know, any node that kind of prolongs the fight gives her more armor, buffet as well. When triggering buffs, the dash back is going to heal her even more, should be quite valuable. Hyperion, anything with really power gain or all or nothing tends to be quite good for Hyperion. Just you know, try and increase the chance that he's going to special free and smash the opponent. The champion, anything that really prolongs the fight is going to be quite good for this character. And also, like, when it comes to certain nodes like with the force aggressive gameplay, when we're having a look at nodes like Bane, I think with his Unstoppable as well is going to be quite annoying for people to deal with. But the champion does seem to be the very popular final boss at the moment amongst a lot of the top tiers there. And then we got Morning Star for the bleed damage when awakened, can be very, very annoying. Magic, we've got the Limbos when awakened, can be very, very annoying, but blade or power control. Next up, we've got Sentinels, and I've seen Sentinels do quite well on nodes that have power gain, because it kind of forces people to, you know, dodge their specials a little bit more, and when dodging a special on Sentinel is the time where they get a ton of analysis charges, unless you can do a very, very clever dodge, so that tends to catch people out quite a bit. So power gain can be useful for Sentinel for getting a bit of crit resistance there, but also putting Sentinel on nodes that have bleed or poison. Generally, bleed is the better option to go for, because poison, you know, you have characters like Medusa and Hyperion that can shut them down. So Sentinel on bleed node seems to be quite well there. Spider-Man Miles Morales, just any stun node is really what you're looking for. Bane might be a little bit of annoying, but Bane, you know, you can still stun on that, so stun immunity there. Void, just any particular node really. I don't think there's anything too overly special about Void for the most part. Just, you know, can deal a little bit of chip damage if people are unprepared and don't come in with blade, or get him down before he starts applying those debuffs and don't kind of play around the combo. Wasp is fairly straightforward to fight, but can catch people out who don't know how to fight her. With her wonderful quantum evade ability, so Wasp can be very, very annoying for certain people to fight on nodes like Bane, where you have to get, like, timing over at a certain time, or very, very aggressive nodes like, what is it, the flare one, which gives you degeneration and increases your attack as well. So potentially a little bit more annoying there, but I think Iron Man Infinity War tends to be a little bit better for those nodes. Then we got Gladiator Hulk, and Gladiator Hulk, really, you want to make the matchup. I feel like I've said this with so many champions, man. You want to make it last as long as possible, because a lot of people are very, very unattentive to Gladiator Hulk's mechanics, and once he gets to 100 crowd excitement, and every single one of his attacks is a smash, then yeah, people aren't generally very good at realizing that he's unstoppable during this time and will attack into him after special attacks and get wrecked. I've seen it so much, man. So Gladiator Hulk makes quite a good mini boss for the, you know, pretty much any mini boss node there, no one in particular, but a long fight with Gladiator Hulk can make him very, very annoying to deal with. And then just in terms of the arse painter, you know, we've got Cable, Bishop. Cable's got a better power gain, same with Bishop. If you don't kill him in the first try, both have slightly annoying to deal with specials. Mega Red has this kind of degeneration aura, which is a little bit annoying, and also if you bleed him, he's going to deal some more damage to you. Agent Venom, with a shrug off and slightly annoying specials there, can be quite good on a kinetic reactor node. Blade, I've seen some people use Blade to quite a bit of success on all or nothing nodes. He tends to work quite well there. So yeah, that works quite nicely. Kingpin, with his 50% chance to shrug off debuffs, can be a little bit of a pain in the ass sometimes, can clip people and kind of push them back. Power gain nodes, I've seen people get a little bit wrecked on Kingpin, but Kingpin, he's not too hard to fight. Heimdall, you just want to make sure that you're giving him on defense as much power as possible, so anything kind of that boosts his power gain or allows him to start with power, just so that you get, because he gets the true strike after every single special attack that he throws, and even if you're just constantly baiting the special one, it does give him a chance to auto block when he's struck in on True Strike, and that can sometimes parry and stun and absolutely wreck people, so that can be quite a good one there, and some people occasionally forget about that one. But Heimdall, he's not overly punishing. Corvus Glaive, again, as we talked about, any stun immune node where you're forcing people to either intercept or bait out heavies can be very, very valuable. Hood, for any node that has power gain, maybe push to the special 2, go invisible. It's pretty easy to fight, especially after the Mystic Dispersion changes, but you know, still can get a kill here and there. Unstoppable Colossus, Juggernaut, the unstoppable mechanics are a little bit more of a pain in the ass. You just kind of want anything that's really fueling up the power of these characters. Very similar story with Mordo, to be honest. Ultron, really any node. His Sleight of Aid is a bit annoying to deal with there. Punisher 2099, Kinetic Reactor can be very, very detrimental, because his special attacks, man, they have so many hits, can generate so much power there. Starkanaut Spider-Man, any like stun immune or resistant node there, can be very, very helpful, just because his evade is kind of the big annoying part there. Red Skull, anything that increases power gain or armor, gives him more stacks of that, makes him just a bit more of a bitch to fight. But Red Skull, bait the special one, win the video game. It's pretty straightforward for the most part. And then we have Quake. Stun immunity is a great combination with Quake, kind of forcing people sometimes, if they can't intercept, to bait out heavy attacks, which will give them, you know, a chance to be stunned by Quake as well, which can lead to some very, very fun scenarios there. Just in terms of the annoying tier, we've got characters like Rogue, Black Panther Civil War, Thor Ragnarok, Punisher, Massacre, Moon Knight, Taskmaster, Black Widow, Night Thrasher, Aegon. Aegon doesn't have a huge amount on defense, really, nothing, but he might trigger some PTSD, some major Aegon PTSD, and that's what you're banking for. And what I found fighting Aegon, I think he's bugged, because whenever I've fought an Aegon in Alliance War, which has been a couple of times now, he's instantly had like 6 Fury stacks, which he shouldn't have, but I don't know. There's something a little bit interesting with Aegon at the moment. But yeah, he's not the best defender, but he might catch a few people out who aren't super confident at fighting him. Spider-Man Symbiote for the evade, King Groot for the shrug off, Symbiote Supreme for the Nullify, Yondu for the Yakka Arrows, Green Goblin for the specials, and a bit of regeneration there, can be good on regen nodes sometime. Vision OG for the power gain, War Machine for the special one, Electro just as the damage back really, Rhino Unstoppable Charge, Abomination you've got the poison, Yellow Jacket you've got the annoying to evade specials, and Hulk slightly tricky to evade specials as well, and if you get clipped by either of these two characters, you are wrecked. So unblockable special one, Yellow Jacket, can be quite annoying, but Hulk is just very, very punishing if you do get hit. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that is a quick reel off of the best Alliance War Defenders December 2018. Let me know who you think are some of the best defenders out there at the moment. What combinations of characters and nodes have you been using? Let me know in the comment section below. But aside from that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching. Take care, and I hope that you have an absolutely fantastic day.